to the leaders who champion global connectivity, to our international partners who believe in borderless learning, to the esteemed keynote speakers who have illuminated our minds, to the researchers unearthing truth, to the practitioners in the trenches translating vision into reality, and to the innovators daring to imagine differently, and to every global friend gathered here at the Idec 2025. We have gathered in this extraordinary moment not by accident, but by purpose, unified, united by singular conviction that education is the most potent force for transforming human destiny. We are all architects here, and we are about to discuss the blueprints for tomorrow. Next slide, please. It is a profound privilege to be here with you, even if it is at distance, to deliver this closing keynote. But let me be clear. This is not merely a closing address. This is a moment of collective reckoning. The theme we have embraced together over these 2 days, driving sustainable development goals through emerging technologies in digital education, is not poetic language. It is declaration of war against status quo. This theme compels all of us to lead transformation with unprecedented courage and unwavering responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, look around the room. What you see is not just educators and researchers. What you see are the architects of tomorrow. Literally, stone by stone, line by line, innovation by innovation, building tomorrow's learning ecosystems. You are not passive observers of change. You are the change makers. In fact, digital education is no longer an option to consider. It is no longer a luxury to afford. It is the operating system of tomorrow's world, as essential as electricity, as fundamental as clean water. You are not just educators, you are the architects. Slide 3, please. Over the past 2 days, we have witnessed not incremental improvements. We have witnessed a revolution. We have observed 3 remarkable sessions that have fundamentally challenged how we think about learning itself. We have seen smart classrooms where tablets have transformed static, silent learning spaces into vibrant, interactive environments where every student's voice matters. We have witnessed virtual laboratories where students no longer memorize science, they experience it, they manipulate it, they own it through immersive digital simulations. We have observed augmented reality bringing sacred religious texts to life, making the ancient wisdom of centuries suddenly tangible and relevant to 21st century minds. And we have seen AI system intelligently assessing not just what students know, but how they think, how they communicate, the vocal agility, the learning patterns. This is not educational theater. This is educational transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, what we are seeing through recent biometric and collaborative research is undeniable. There's a surge, a genuine surge in interdisciplinary research, focusing on digital education and sustainability. This is no accident. This is convergence. This is momentum. This is the future arriving at our conference doorstep right now, today, in this moment. The most critical finding emerging from global research is this: digital education is no longer a luxury enhancement to traditional learning. It is increasingly recognized as a primary driver, perhaps the primary driver, for achieving sustainable goals, especially SDG 4 on quality education for all. This is not a hope. This is not a wish. This is evidence. And evidence demands action. Next slide, please. Here is a truth that must be spoken plainly. The digital divide is not inevitable. It is not the result of fate, geography, or circumstance. The digital divide is the result of conscious policy choices made or not made by governments, by institutions, by leaders. And if it was created by choices, then it can be unmade by choices. While the wealthy send their children to schools equipped with the latest technology, connected to the fastest networks, studying with artificial intelligence tutors, millions of children worldwide sit in darkness, in rooms, without electricity in schools, without internet in villages cut off from digital world. This is not progress. This is tragedy wearing the mask of geography. Connectivity must become a human right, not a privilege. If we expect every child to have a future worth living, then every child must have a connection to the world. Connectivity is the new literacy of the 21st century. And literacy is a right, not a commodity. This is the central moral question of our time. Will we build an education system that includes everyone, or will we build one that includes only those who can afford it? Next slide, please. Consider the trajectory of just one decade. In fact, 12 years ago, I had the chance to set up the Open University. I tell you my own experience. The very first batch of students were about to go for the induction. And the week before, we said, well, we'll give them a hard copy of the manuals. Trust me, on the eve till 4 a.m., the printers were still working, printing the manuals. Then I decided that from the second batch onwards, we are going to provide them tablets. So that first, it is a sustainable way of providing the learning materials to the student, rather than using tons and tons of papers. Now, I'm talking about 2012, we decided to provide them with tablets. Today, the Open University of Mauritius, although I'm not the Director General now, I'm the Minister, we have a learning management system, right, that not only allows students to have a proper learning environment online, but at the same time allows interaction between students, between the student and tutors. In fact, at that time, education was considered to be, distance education was considered to be education of last resort. I'm happy to say that after 12 years, when I left the Open University as the DG to go for the elections, Open University had the highest number of students in Mauritius, nearly 13,000, and was financially independent. So I'm very happy that distance education found its place in Mauritius, and was the privileged choice. Today, in 2025, we all know what happened after COVID. 93% of global educators now recognize hybrid and distance learning not as inferior, but as inevitable, as essential, as quality valid, as equally powerful. However, here is a warning. We cannot just convert anything into distance education. It requires preparation. For example, at the Open University of Mauritius, the academics have been trained in pedagogy and then trained in online pedagogy and then trained on the use of the learning management system. Tomorrow, digital transformation will not be a question of choice, but a catalyst for sustainable development worldwide. Not whether, but how fast. Not if, but how profoundly. This trajectory tells us something powerful. Change is real. Progress is possible. Revolution is inevitable if we choose it. Next slide, please. The classroom without walls is classroom without limits. We all know that when we talk about distance education, the learner can be anywhere, can learn from any place, the tutor can be anywhere. But the pedagogy of teaching distance in distance education mode, online mode, has to be uh, really anchored in the system. We cannot just take a PDF or put it there or put a YouTube video and then say this is distance education. If sustainability is our goal, and it must be, then education is the most renewable resource we own. Oils, oils, oil runs out, minerals are depleted, forests diminish. But education increases when you share it. Education multiplies when you invest in it. Every person we educate becomes an educator. Every mind we unlock becomes a force multiplier for knowledge in the world. This is the paradox. Next slide, please. But here is the uncomfortable reality we must face. The progress remains uneven, severely uneven around the globe. Some regions leap forward with exponential velocity. Their students code in artificial intelligence. Their classrooms are laboratories of innovation. They're equipped with lecture capturing and which is translated simultaneously on the mobile. The governments invest in digital infrastructure as if their future depends on it, because it does indeed. These are the regions that will lead the 21st century economy. These are the societies that will solve humanity's greatest challenges. Meanwhile, other regions struggle with most basic connectivity. A student in a connected city, in a remote area, or in a well-off city, has more digital resources than an entire school, direct in a developing nation. Bandwidth that would seem trivial in places like London or Singapore would revolutionize education in sub-Saharan Africa. The digital divide is not narrowing. Let me repeat that. The digital divide is not narrowing. It is being redrawn in real time, creating a new geography of inequality, a 21st century apartheid, where opportunity depends not on merit or potential, but on longitude and latitude. This is unacceptable. This must change. Sustainable progress starts when every learner can connect, create, and contribute digitally. Next slide, please. But here is what we must understand about knowledge and education. This is not ordinary economics. The rules are different. The paradox is profound. Education grows exponentially when distributed. And this is what I recommend to people who are here. We recently launched an OER repository. We are going to send you the link. There are a number of programs that have been developed under the supervision of Commonwealth of Learning that we would like to share with everybody. It's free. It's material that has been recently developed, and we are going to give you the link. Education, as I said, grows exponentially when distributed, and we are contributing our share to it. One teacher teaches 30 students. Those 30 students go out, teach others. The multiplication is geometry, not arithmetic. This is the mathematics of hope. And in fact, today, with AI, we're able to detect the strengths and weaknesses of our students earlier and able to provide them the support that they need in order to ensure that more and more students succeed. The success rate is higher. Knowledge, teaching someone doesn't reduce what you know. It does not diminish your mastery. When we educate one learner, we don't diminish knowledge, we amplify it. We create multiplicators. We unleash minds that will solve problems we haven't even imagined yet. Let me be crystal clear about something that will be controversial. Digital infrastructure without digital equity is just digital colonialism with better Wi-Fi. If we build high-speed internet only for wealthy, we will. If we deploy AI tutors only in privileged schools, if we offer augmented reality learning only to those who can afford it, then we have not advanced education. We have advanced inequality. We have dressed colonialism in a digital uniform. We must resist this with every fiber of our being. And I'm happy to know that this conference, Idec 2025, is indeed contributing to this. Next slide, please. So what does this mean for policy? What does the result coming out of Idec 2025 mean for policy? What must we do? How do we move from conversation to action? The United Nations has declared with clarity, digital transformation is not optional in educational sustainability. It is central. It is essential. It is the bridge between our aspirations and our achievement. Every sustainable development goal, from poverty to health to environmental protection, has an educational component. And that educational component is increasingly digital. This is not a marginal issue. This is the central issue. But here is what policymakers often get wrong. There is no one size fits all solution. The policy that works brilliantly in a country like UK or Singapore or Malaysia or Mauritius with its advanced infrastructure, its technological sophistication, its human capital will fail catastrophically in any other setup with completely different contexts, different resources, different challenges. What works in wealthy urban centers will not necessarily work in rural areas. What succeeds in, for example, Nordic countries will not automatically succeed in sub-Saharan Africa. So let's not copy. Let's think about our context. Let's reflect. Let's craft the solution together. Regional tailoring is not merely recommended, it is essential, it is non negotiable. Strategic implementation requires not arrogance but humility. It requires understanding local context, respecting indigenous pedagogies, assessing actual resources, and honoring the aspirations and cultures of the communities we serve. It requires asking before telling, listening before leading. This is the art of policy innovation, not imposing solutions, but facilitating solutions that emerge from people who know their context best. A nation that invests in digital education invests in its own future resilience. In an uncertain and rapidly changing world, the most resilient societies will be those whose citizens can learn, adapt, and innovate continuously. This is a nation that educates. This is a nation that transforms. Next slide, please. But let me be direct, perhaps more direct than is comfortable about what I'm observing in my role as a minister and education leader. There is a gap, maybe an abyss, between what we say and what we do, between our declarations and our investment, between our ambitions and our implementations. What we are doing very often is getting room, plenty of gadgets, appointing chief digital officers, establishing transformation committees, pushing glossy reports with beautiful infographics about digital innovation. But what should actually happen is the following. We should empower the teachers. They stand in front of technology they don't understand, unfortunately. Students struggle with technology that is supposed to help them. It frustrates them instead. So they need support. The learning to learn with digital technology is a must today. So proper empowerment is a must. The gap between ambition and implementation widens year after year, report after report. Why does this happen? Because we confuse visibility with progress. We mistake a well designed policy paper for actual change. We believe that announcing transformation is same as achieving it. In fact, in June of this year, our Prime Minister announced that every ministry must have a research unit and all policies must be anchored in research. Technology doesn't replace teachers, never, ever. Technology empowers teachers to be unstoppable, to reach more students, to personalize learning, to unlock human potential that was previously locked away. But without teachers, technology is just an expensive hardware gathering dust. Next slide, please. Here is the fundamental misunderstanding that poisons so much policy thinking. Many believe that choice is between teachers or technology, as if we must choose, as if they are opponents in a zero sum game. They present they present it like this: either we invest in teachers or invest in technology. Pick one. This is a false choice. This is catastrophic misunderstanding. Teachers are the true engines of innovation. Technology is simply the fuel. Without technology, without teachers, technology remains expensive hardware, impressive looking, but ultimately hollow. Next slide, please. So, what does transformative digital education look like? Not in theory, not in policy papers, but in reality. in practice, in classrooms where students are learning, not are learning at a level that would see or that would have been impossible even 5 years ago. A student virtual and augmented reality beyond imagination. A student learning about photosynthesis doesn't just read about it today or watch a video. Through augmented reality, they enter the leaf, they see their chlorophyll at work, they experience the electron transfer, they understand through immersive simulation what no textbook could ever convey. A student studying sustainability doesn't just learn about climate change in the abstract, they experience it through realistic interactive simulation. They model the consequences of their choices. They see viscerally what their decisions mean for our shared future. Problem based learning. Instead of solving textbook problems designed 30 years ago, students are now using digital collaboration tools to tackle real world challenges. They work collectively, they span continents. A team in one country collaborates in real time with a team in another country in another continent. They don't learn about water scarcity, for example. They solve water scarcity together. They don't study poverty. They design interventions together. They don't theorize about health. They implement health solutions together. Gamification is central to digital learning. Learning is no longer the goal, it is an adventure. Through gamification, abstract concepts become quests, achievements become rewards, progress is visible, tangible, and celebrated. Through digital storytelling, learners don't memorize facts, they construct narratives. They become authors, not just readers. They create, not just consume. And through interactive narratives, engagement is no longer a luxury, it is the default. Student centered transformation. Perhaps most profoundly, we are witnessing a fundamental inversion of power. In traditional education, power flows down. The teacher knows everything. The students receive. The teacher decides what is important. The student absorbs. In digital student centered learning, this is reversed. Students have agency. They pursue their interest. They choose their path. Teachers become guides, mentors, facilitators, not dispensers of prepackaged information. My personal wish is to see that every child has an avatar supporting that child so that the child can relate to the avatar one to one. This represents a fundamental pedagogical revolution, not an incremental improvement, but a revolution. It positions learners as a as an active contributors to their own learning and to the knowledge of humanity, not passive recipients of information, but creative agents in the construction of meaning. This is education for the 21st century. This is learning that prepares students, not for the past, but for a future we cannot yet imagine. Last slide, please. As we leave this conference, I want you to carry three things with you. First, conviction. You have seen that digital education is not a future possibility, it is a present reality. It is working. It is transforming lives. Right now, today, you have the evidence. Trust it. Act on it. Second, courage. The path of transformation is not easy. You will face resistance. You will encounter inertia. You will meet people who prefer the comfort of their status quo to the possibility of the future. But remember, every person you educate has the potential to transform their family, their community, their nation. That is worth the risk. the resistance. Third, responsibility. You are no longer passive observers of education. You are architects. Everything you do, every decision you make about policy, every investment you prioritize, every teacher you train, every student you reach reverberates forward into the future. This is tremendous responsibility. This is also tremendous opportunity. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you for inviting me.